Well, hey folks, today I want to share with you a new spin on how to mark and design your discs. Now I know there are a lot of amazing ways to dye your discs, and better folks than me have videos out there to show you the way to do that. I'm going to show you a little more old school way to have fun making your discs special. So let's jump right in. Okay guys, so here's the key. I was able to get this record player at a thrift store for about 25 bucks. And the great thing is it's got your speed controls here from slow to very fast. If you're not sure what these numbers mean, that'd be a great question to ask your parents. But anyway, so I was able to purchase this, and then I just simply took I think it was about $2, a tray from Walmart, and cut a hole in the middle of it, just drilled it, and set that on top. And so now I can have a spinning turntable. I'll talk to you about what the tape does in just a minute, but let me show you kind of what's going on. So I was an art major and I like to illustrate and draw, and so a lot of my discs I will just draw straight on them. Just using Sharpie markers and having a good time doing that. But there are times that I don't feel like working on it, or I don't have time, or I keep getting new discs, so sometimes it's just faster and easier, and depending on how I'm feeling, I just like to add different rings to it. Sometimes I go very subtle, just a couple little extra rings to it. Sometimes I get really into it and put a lot of rings on it. But anyway, it is a quick and easy way to add a little flourish to your disc. So now we're going to talk about how to do it. But before we get discs onto the turntable, we need to talk about how to get the disc ready. And you've probably seen this on some other YouTube videos about how to dye your disc, prepare your disc. You just need to, first of all, grab a disc, and if it's still got the stamps on it, you're going to need something acetone. You want to go with a good, solid astringent. I think that's the right word. And acetone works really well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to set this here for a second. Okay, so now I've got the paper towel loaded with acetone, and I'm simply going to start rubbing on the disc. Now, one of the things, if you've got a lot of stamp on the disc, see it collects like that, you'll want to flip it over or hit it with the second one so that you make sure that you get as much of the stamp off as possible. Now, depending on how long the stamp's been on there, how big it is or whatever, you can still see a little bit of shading on there. Some discs do better than others. One of the things you'll also find is, depending on how hot the stamp was, you might get little grooves, and if you hit the light right, you can kind of see the leftover impression of the stamp. That's okay. You can still work with these. So now here I've got my little setup here. I'm ready to work on some different discs. And so all I'm going to do is I'm going to set up my camera so you can see. Okay, so now we're going to put the disc on the turntable. First of all, you're going to like my flannel PJs and my slippers, because that's how I'll rock around here. I know it's very stylish. Don't be jealous of my fashion choices. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I'm simply going to take the disc and try to center it up as best I can using the guides. But most of the time I'm just getting it pretty close. Now I'm going to turn it on. And I've got it set at 48, kind of the medium, but you see it's not quite centered. You want to try to get this as centered as possible. So I'm going to take my finger and I'm just going to hold it right on the edge and try to keep it as still as I can and help guide the disc over. If you push the wrong way, see, it gets off track. So you got to bring it back to the middle. And then you're just going to bring your finger in and try to nudge it over. All right, let's try this one more time. Actually, I will oftentimes use the arm of the record player to help keep me steady. Oh, I had it and I pushed just a little too much. All right, there you go. Nice and centered. So now I'm going to turn the record player off, and this is where the tape comes in handy. originally started, and I would put 4 magnets around the edges there to hold it because I could move them around and adjust them, but I kept knocking into them, and so I just found a little electrical tape all the way across. Just pinch the ends and do the same thing over here, and that should hold it in place pretty well. All right, so now I'm going to turn it on. And once again, I could go, if I push it up speed-wise, I could go a lot faster, or I could go really slow. Completely up to you. The thing with going slow is you can do spirals, you have a little more control to do some funky patterns, whereas if you go faster, your rings will be very crisp because you won't be moving back and forth as much. So I usually keep it right about in the middle. And for this, all I'm going to do is I'm going to start with a large marker. And this is where I really like using the arm of the record player to help give me a little control point. And now I'm simply going to decide where I want to start putting lines. I just hold it down till it circles around. Now I can make it a little thicker by just dragging a little bit forward. And what I like to do is make sure I've got all the gaps covered. And then I can start playing if I want. I'm going to come out a little bit more, and then I'm going to thicken up the line right here. Now sometimes what I'm noticing is the hot stamp beneath it is making it jump a little bit. So I've just got to go back in and touch a few places up with the disc afterward, with the marker afterwards. Okay, not too bad. And then maybe I'll come in with a little bit of yellow. And once I'm done, just peel off the tape. And there you have it. Pretty simple because I'm talking to you on the camera, but you get the general idea, and the sky's the limit in how you want to do it. I've got a bunch of markers. I got from the fat ones to the medium to the skinny ones, and you can just have a whole lot of fun. Get out your old discs, give them new life, and just start playing around. So anyway, there you go. I hope that gives you some inspiration for having fun and creating a new design for your disc. All right, so one of the things I've decided is I like the thin lines lately better than the thicker lines, so I'm playing around with that. And this one looks pretty good, but I want to see if I can add one more set of lines to it. So I'm going to just add a little blue. And since that's a little off kilter, might as well play with something else because it's not very good. So let's add a little bit of lighter blue and try it one more time. Let's start from inside. I can see it once I start now that the disc is off center a little bit. That's why you want to do it all in one sitting. It's hard to get it exactly right. Reset it to get it the same way. Even if it's off a little bit, if it's off a little bit the same way for all of them, then it works out fine. Let's just add one more because I don't think it, I kind of like the idea of it going light to dark. All right, so there you go. From an okay to I like that much better. It's kind of got a little 3D action to it, and I'm pretty happy with that. So anyway, there you go. Hope that inspires you. Maybe get out there and have some fun. All right, one little extra caveat is if I tried to rescue this disc. You know, I didn't like the design on it, so I did some more black on it. Another option that you can do, that you always have, is grab your acetone and just start playing, be a little creative. Just start playing with the actual design. And, you know, use the acetone to break it up, soften it up, and kind of paint, make it almost more painterly-like in there. So even when you kind of mess up, you can do some fun things and experiment. So what I can do, I got a little extra out there. Just get a little Q-tip and clean that up. Yeah, it's just got a different look to it. So anyway, one more thing to add. Oh, all right. Gonna heal my teeth. All right, let's do this.